We must stay in the flow, dear ones. There's no time now for indulgences. The time for learning is over. We must know ourselves and stay in the flow. At the center of every part of the sonship, flowers, rocks, trees, human beings, is the flow. That is the only part of you that is real, and even it is not a thing or substance. It is the flow of love. Now we must know the flow and stay in the flow. What is the Christ? Do you want to know what is the Christ? You had better want to know. What is the Christ? It is that part of you that is real, that God made and you cannot change. It is the flow. The time for learning is over. Whatever indulgence takes you away from the flow must be discarded. It doesn't matter if it is pork, sex, or booze. If it is taking you out of the flow, you must discard it now. There's urgency in this now. We are collapsing time now as we leave behind all illusions and associate ourselves with the flow. We all see now that we must move somewhere. Some say in consciousness, but consciousness is the observer and an illusion. It is impossible for some part of the flow to break off and observe it because the flow is whole. It is all there is. The flow is the whole extending itself. So what are we moving towards? The flow. We are moving through consciousness, through awareness, into the flow. We are leaving behind the silly little dream of being a single, solitary ego housed in a bag of skin. The beauty of the flow is ours. The immensity of the flow is ours. The vastness of the flow is ours. The wholeness of the flow is ours. The gentle beauty and grace of the flow is ours. And dear ones, if we call the flow the beloved, then the beloved and all things are one. In this condition of oneness, we will not project the opposite. We will cease the endless folly of first projecting problems and then solve them. We will not react when fearful people cling to the ego and resist knowing the flow. We have come this close to the Christ within that we will now say, resist not evil, but overcome evil with good. And what is this good with a capital G? This good is beyond the duality of normal good and evil. This good is that which has no opposite. This good is the flow. It is all-encompassing love. So now then, dear ones, do you know yourself? Have you answered the question which brought you here through countless incarnations? Do you know what is the Christ? Look ever so deeply in yourself, past ego, superego, and id, past the subconscious, the unconscious, the collective unconscious, past every illusion you have clung to so desperately. And in your truth spot, you will know the Christ, not as a person, but as the flow. In the flow is everything made plain. In the flow is relief from all you have suffered. In the flow there is God, the one who is all of you, and you a part of him. In the flow does time collapse into stillness. The one rejoices. God created stillness and said to his creation, "Let this be our place. Our light will shine in this stillness. Our song is all that will be heard." Our light will indeed continue to shine with God forever as we extend his love more and more in his spiritual universe. The fake physical universe we created has disappeared. We have approached heaven's gate, all our work complete. Now do the gates open, and the one song of love the Son sings to his Father rings throughout a spiritual universe. We have returned to where we never left. We traveled but in dreams, while safely at home. As we move into the flow, we will forget the earth, even as we bless it for making such a lovely school for us, and remember heaven we will. The knowledge of it will come back like an old song you learned so long ago. Listen, and try to think if you remember what we speak of now. Listen, perhaps you catch a hint of an ancient state not quite forgotten, dim perhaps, and yet not altogether unfamiliar. Like a song whose name is long forgotten, and the circumstances in which you heard completely unremembered. Not the whole song has stayed with you, but just a little wisp of melody attached not to a person or a place or anything particular. But you remember from just this little part how lovely was the song, how wonderful the setting where you heard it, and how you loved those who were there and listened with you. The notes are nothing, yet you have kept them with you, not for themselves, but as a soft reminder of what would make you weep if you remembered how dear it was to you. You could remember, yet you are afraid, believing you would lose the world you learned since then. And yet you know that nothing in the world you learned is half so dear as this. Listen, and see if you remember an ancient song you knew so long ago and held more dear than any melody you taught yourself to cherish since. Beyond the body, beyond the sun and stars, past everything you see and yet somehow familiar, is an arc of golden light that stretches as you look into a great and shining circle, and all the circle fills with light before your eyes. The edges of the circle disappear, and what is in it is no longer contained at all. The light expands and covers everything, extending to infinity, forever shining, and with no break or limit anywhere. Within it is everything joined in perfect continuity. Nor is it possible to imagine that anything could be outside, for there is nowhere that this light is not. This is the vision of the Son of God, whom you know well. Here is the sight of him who knows his Father. Here is the memory of what you are, a part of this, with all of it within, and joined to all as surely as all is joined in you. Accept the vision that can show you this, and not the body. You know the ancient song, and know it well. Nothing will ever be as dear to you as is this ancient hymn the Son of God sings to his Father still. And now the blind can see, for that same song they sing in honor of their Creator gives praise to them as well. The blindness that they made will not withstand the memory of this song, and they will look upon the vision of the Son of God, remembering who he is they sing of. What is a miracle but this remembering? And who is there in whom this memory lies not? The light in one awakens it in all, and when you see it in your brother, you are remembering for everyone.